with a couple of weeks left, I feel like it's a good time to get ahead of what's known in league circles as Black Monday. The number 7 to 10 has been tossed around in terms of potential coaching vacancies. There are already some full-time vacancies, a few interims in place. There's always surprises at the end of the season. So I'd love to just kind of like empty a notebook, Charles, on who's coming and who's going from a head coach and or general manager perspective. We've already seen the Chargers clean house. I was just at that game in Las Vegas on Thursday, so I saw the end of the Tom Telesco, Brandon Staley era. We know the Panthers are looking for a full-time coach. And obviously the Raiders are looking for a full-time coach, and with more to come. But I want to start, though, because I want to start with what you and I have probably done about 2-3 conversations about this throughout the season. So why not come full circle, so to speak? Bill Belichick was on local radio this morning, and he was asked about basically the deafening silence coming out in New England, which is something that's always like I've struggled with, because which tells you everything. Because at any point, I get not feeding into the rumor mill, but at any point, whether it's off the record or on set for College Game Day, anybody associated with the Patriots could say, Bill Belichick's our coach for as long as he wants to be. They could say that. Absent saying that, it's pretty clear that there's going to be a change. There's been reports that the decision was made after the Germany trip, then reports to the contrary that no decision has been made. I don't know Robert Kraft well. I've known him for a long time. Knowing him the way I think I do, Charles, it feels like whatever happens with Bill Belichick, however it happens, A, he's going to be somewhere else, and B, it's going to take a long time to resolve it. I see this getting drug out deep into the offseason. I don't see that particular move being made on Black Monday.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting, like you said, the Tom Curran report comes out that the decision was made after the loss in Germany, where Bill was alerted, or I don't know, I guess however Tom described it, it was made clear that they were going to be separating at the end of the season. What was interesting about that was I made a couple of calls to people, one in the building, one outside of the building, but who has strong ties still inside the building. And what I was told was, well, right now, the coaching staff is operating as normal. Like they didn't become aware of this until the Tom Curran report dropped, and it was news to them. And so the thought process to me at that time was, well, if this is, and Tom, let's be real here. Tom Curran is a very well-sourced reporter. He's covered the Patriots for a long time. I think he's sourced at every level.
Covered him as long as I was there. When I was there, he was covering the Patriots. And at that point, 20 years ago, he had been covering the Patriots for 20 years.
Right. And it's sourced in the locker room, sourced in the front office, sourced in ownership, sourced in the coaching staff. So when he reports something, I'm like, yeah. And by the way, he's also someone who will ask Bill tough questions. Right. So it's not like it's just someone who's been around for a long time.
He's not on payroll.
No, he's not a wallflower at all. Right. Yeah. So I'm like, this is a heavy hitter. Okay. And so to me, I'm like, okay, I take serious. And but what I was told was, hey, until the Curran report came out, no one really had heard that in the building. Now, I think if something like that goes down, the circle is small, right? We're talking about the Krafts. Yes. We're probably talking about Bill and nobody else, right? And whoever those individuals want to tell, that's it. And so there's no reason coaches aren't going to start looking for a job in the middle of the season. There's no reason to, create chaos in an organization after that Germany game anyway. So let's just play the string out and see what happens. So my thought process was, if this got out, and I'm leaning on 20 plus years of covering the NFL here, there are times where ownership knows something tough is coming. Maybe you're separating yourself from a beloved player or a coach or something you think could be an unpopular decision or at least a talking point in your market. So what you do is you slide it out.
Little trial balloon. Little trial balloon.
Little trial balloon. Somebody you trust, right? Somebody you know, somebody you can count on. And by the way, somebody who also carries the weight of legitimacy when they cover something. and you go ahead and you slide it out, and you start to let your fan base and the surrounding, everybody kind of gets used to the idea of like, okay, so maybe this is coming. And it's well enough in advance that people have time to sort of ruminate about it. And beyond that, it also sends up a signal to the rest of the league. Hey, we could be looking for a quarterback here, or excuse me, we can be looking for a coach here and a quarterback, by the way.
Yeah.
We might as well throw that in too. It sends up a signal to Mike Vrabel.
A little head start on the process.
Absolutely. Lets people know, hey, we don't have to go behind Bill's back and start a search or anything like that. We're just sort of putting it out there. People know, and it's going to become a talking point. And there are going to be other individuals out there that are going to go, New England, seems like New England's going to be open. And I think a lot of people have come to accept it to this point, right?
Sure. Oh, that's absolutely. It feels like the worst kept secret in the league right now. And with all due respect to Tom's reporting, and any other reporters who have been connected and kind of putting the writing on the wall themselves, my skepticism is more in, like, I've been married for 18 years. Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft been married for 24 years. I don't want to be out here in these streets. It's like, I know you like the same way with Dawn. Like, no matter how much they may get on our nerves, no matter how much we may get on their nerves, the idea of having to look for somebody, like, nah, man, like, you know what? Love the one I'm with. I just think, and as speaking of Boston media, as Ron Borges once said that he told this to a fan. The difference between you and me is you think I know. All right, so Tom Curran knows. I think that Robert Kraft is just going to be way more deliberate about pulling the trigger on something that he hasn't had to do in a quarter century. Like, I think frustration after Germany, frustration over this season, frustration over the last several years is one thing, but when it ultimately comes time to make a wholesale change, which you, me, and Shalise talked about in a previous edition of my main man, Michael Smith, a wholesale organizational shift and change, when this team on one side of the ball has been competitive, it could just be the quarterback situation. Maybe the quarterback mattered more than any of us ever imagined, even though he's the greatest of all time. It just feels like it's easier said than done, I guess is what I'm getting at. It's easy to talk shit and say, yo, can't wait to break up with this dude. I'm sick of this dude. Like, I can't stand him. Like, it's 24 years. He's like, want to move on. And it's like, are we really about to do this? And
I feel like in our lifetimes, we've all had that friend, right, that was in a relationship and his eye wanders and he goes, man, but if I was just single, there's this person I know who I really dig and I vibe with and all this stuff. Right. And then they break it off. Right. And then they find out that person that they vibe with and that they dig isn't all that interested. And then they're like, oh.
But wait, I bought you a drink at the club. Like, wait, what?
Yeah. And then they're like, man, I don't know. Maybe I need to get back. Maybe I need to get back with a girl. Maybe I need to get, maybe this was a mistake. But you already made the mistake, right? You already ended it to move on, and now you're trying to circle back. So as you said, part of being deliberate here is, okay, so we can focus this. Let's just say it is Vrabel, right? Let's play the Vrabel game just so that we can hone in on one coach and then take it through the process.
You've been saying that for a while. Like, every time you say it, I believe it more. Every time you say it, I believe it more. I'm like, something's going down here. But go ahead.
Let's just say that that's who they want, right? They're interested. Well, okay. When the Broncos knew they wanted Sean Payton, it took forever, right, to figure out the compensation. It took forever that process went on forever, right? So even if they're interested, Mike Vrabel is going to cost, even if Mike Vrabel is interested, right? Let's say Mike Vrabel's like, man, we're like this, his interception luck is amazing. He probably could have 40 interceptions right now. His ball security is terrible. Like, he's a major work in progress. I'm still getting to know Rand Carthon. Maybe it's best for me to just sort of, change horizons here. And we know that he has affection for New England, the Crafts, that job. There's a lot of respect. He has a very short list of, bucket list maybes, and that is on it. Okay. So, but let's say that the two sides are like, yeah, we're interested in each other. Okay, well, first off, you got to go through the process of what do we do with Bill? Are we trading him? Are we just letting him walk? How long is this going to take? We want to do it in a way that's not completely messy and chaotic. And then after that, then that's when we start to engage this idea of trading for Mike. Are they willing to let Mike go for a reasonable price? There's this multitude of things. And then what's Mike's contract going to be like here? All these different things. So there's no reason, 100%. There's no reason to think that this will not be messy. Okay. And, or at the very least take an elongated period of time. But in terms of just whether or not it's going to happen, I think that seeing that organization going through the this is a good example of this, going through the Josh McDaniels departure to Indianapolis taught me that nothing is necessarily over until it's over, because he was out, he was done, he was gone, he was hired Eberflus in Indianapolis, he's hiring coaches there, all these different things. And I had people telling me at that time, who I just completely blew off, who were like, wait, he's got to be at the press conference. Like, wait until he gets to the press conference. And Chris Ballard's getting a little nervous. Like, how come he's not there? How come the press conference has been pushed back? And then all of a sudden we find out that Robert Kraft made another run at him. Bill told Josh, we'll open the books. And then Josh ended up staying. So, to me, it's suggestive that there can be some last minute thinking in New England on the part of ownership, and they can change their minds, or at least decide this is the direction we're committed to. So I still think there's a chance that Tom Curran was correct. And yet
both things can be true.
Both things can be true. Yeah. Because that's a lot of time. And remember, you're emotional in that situation. Coming out of Germany thinking we're embarrassed. Why is everything going wrong? And we don't know what the direct dialogue was either. We don't know,
dialogue is the key word. Dialogue is a key word, because they could sit down, with Vince Vaughn and Luke Wilson, and they start splitting up the miles and whatnot, and then they start saying, you know what, maybe we need to get together. You want to get with somebody that makes you feel dangerous and also safe, and then you kind of like realize, no, we should actually stay together for one more year. It's like, it's not that bad. My point is, all it takes is one sit down between these two parties to change everything. And you said a lot of great things. The biggest thing you said was, this is going to come down to three people: Robert, Jonathan, and Bill. That's it. Like, those are the only three people who definitively know where it is now and where it's going to end up. Hey, thanks so much for kicking it with your main man, Michael Smith. Be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, but also subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Rate it, review it, tell your friends about it. Oh, and be sure to follow me on social media.